Hello, everyone. Is this really happening? We are nearing this season end. Welcome to Processing Severance, the Aftershow podcast. You all have been so wonderful, staying with us throughout this entire season, contributing, listening to us, engaging in our dialogue. We are so happy. I am part of the Lumen team. I'm Rasha G, and I'm hoping that I do not have to terminate anyone today. And joining me are my Lumen team members, Robert L.,
Hey Rasha, hey refiners. I have one word to say, and that is Gretchen.
Shadon L.,
It's Lumen's finest day, or is it?
and Mike M.
Everyone, devour feces, Mr. Drummond. You know?
Wow. All right. Thank you. Thank you, team, for being here. And for all of you that are listening or watching us, just a reminder, you can send us your comments, your questions, your theories at processingseverance@gmail.com. We are checking and we love hearing from you and engaging with all of you. I'm going to start off before we get into episode 9. We got this email from Cat Fellow. Cat Fellow, thanks for checking in. So you have some theories, and one of the theories that Cat Fellow shared with us was Gemma is on the testing floor, and which is a part of a marketing research. She keeps going from one bad thing to another. The testing keeps making her do this as a way to see if severance can be marked to people that are afraid of air flights, turbulence, hate dentistry work done, etc. Right? So they keep asking her these questions about how these experiences are affecting her outie. If it is not all that bad, then maybe this becomes a selling point to people that might like to lose these experiences from their lives, similar to never having to work anymore or give birth or things like that. One might even be able to press a button and have their outie cancel out a ton of nasty things most people have to go through and just skip it. That's a very interesting theory because we do know that they're trying to work with people, right? They're trying to eliminate unpleasant experiences for people. They're trying to help people out and kind of claim that they're trying to better their lives. What do you all think about this?
Yeah, so Katerina was not able to join us today, but she had the kind of a similar brilliant idea last episode for those of you who watched, because my whole thing for you who have been watching has been like, what's the tie-in to the human emotions? Why do we keep coming back to this? And her idea was similar, that it's going to be basically kind of like a mass marketed drug or something that's going to help you disconnect from the painful parts of your life. So it could be something, like grief or a larger pain, or it could be something as small as like going to the dentist or a small discomfort that you don't want to do. But ever since that idea has been presented to me, I feel like my mind has just completely blown open, because I've been looking for this connection for 9 episodes and I feel like I found it. And so if it's not this theory, I'm going to be really disappointed, because this makes so much sense to me.
Well, it's interesting when I relate that to life, because I'm like, we are having a human experience though. And isn't it funny that we just don't want to go through these? Like, I hate going to the dentist. I dread it. That appointment only comes when it needs to. But these unhappy things that we don't want to experience, or the uncomfortable things, I mean, we're supposed to. It's part of the journey, right? I don't know. Anyone else have anything else to say before we continue with
Yeah,
the episode?
I think that theory is spot on. I've been looking into it the last couple of weeks on Twitter with various Severance fans, and I think it's actually pretty close to. I don't think it's the answer and panacea to the whole storyline, but I think it's definitely what Lumen is doing on the whatever that floor is, where all the rooms are, and the testing floor. And I just feel like Cold Harbor then must be that final piece of their puzzle, which could be death, it could be miscarriage, it could be losing someone to death, something like that. And then, of course, which we'll talk about, if Cold Harbor happens, something very bad is going to happen to Gemma. So that's very interesting to me as well.
The other thing is it ties very well into the religious allegories that we're seeing here as well. Because when you think about, like, for example, Scientology, right? There has been like conversations about how Scientologists believe fear and pain and all these negative things are kind of illusions that we have to get rid of and everything like that. And if these are the things that Lumen's kind of focusing on getting rid of, through the idea of severance, then I think that definitely there's an allegory between the religious aspects of worshiping Kier and Lumen, and real world examples like Scientology. So I think that there's definitely meant to be parallels there, about focusing on fear and pain and the idea of getting rid of those negative emotions, So yeah.
Mind killer, Mike. Let's pull Dune into it. I've been trying to warn
Fear
us.
is the mind killer, yes.
Well, I'm excited to see how this is all going to unravel. I can't believe that we're already at episode 9, and I feel like there's still so many questions I have, right? And 10, I don't know if 10's going to cover it. So 9, the After Hours. It has been written by Dan Erickson, and it is directed by Uta Brizowitz. I hope I'm pronouncing her name and giving her justice. I'm sorry if I have not pronounced her name correctly. But again, what another fascinating episode. I felt like there were a lot of, again, just nuggets, right? We just kept seeing pop. The flow to me was a little bit faster paced than especially the last episode. And I felt like there was a lot of different information that was being thrown at us. One of the things that stood out to me actually is I felt in this episode as an overall arc is that we're seeing the characters step out into owning kind of who they are. And by that, what I mean is like you see Mark as his frustration, right? And him just really expressing and not really too thrilled about, meeting up with Mrs. Selvig, or Harmony, in this situation. We also see the frustration with Milch. Like for the first time, he's speaking up in this different tone and standing up for himself. So it's been really interesting. And I want to touch upon this later, but I remember a few episodes ago, Shadon saying that maybe Devon is in on it because we were saying that Rickens and all of them are kind of part. And I stood and said, no, Devon is really the supportive sister, but I don't know. Part of this episode made me feel like she may have an ulterior motive as much as she cares about her brother. So I'm questioning that. Shadon, I'm going to jump to you first today. What were some things that stood out to you?
I do think whether or not she has an ulterior motive, I think they're setting up some sort of confrontation where she has to pick between her husband and her brother. Like that seems very obvious. But I kind of told you guys before we started recording how frustrated I was with this episode because to me, when I watch Severance, I want two things. I either want you to answer some questions and give me some weird sci-fi stuff, or I want you to give me some sort of emotional core that I could hang on to, which is why I liked episode 8 so much because I felt it. And I felt like with episode 9, I got neither of those things. I didn't really get any questions answered. I didn't really have, other than the Burt moment at the train station, which I thought was beautifully done and the highlight of the episode for me. There was just, it was cold and cold in a way that I didn't really like. I thought the moments with Miss Huang were sweet. There's sort of this moment where she's like, it kind of reminded me of like when you're sick and you're waiting for your parents to pick you up from school. You know what I mean? But yeah, this episode was sort of a letdown. I feel like I was expecting a lot more to happen given that we only have one episode left. I thought that maybe we would get to the end of Cold Harbor by this episode, or maybe there would be some sort of huge cliffhanger leading into the finale, and we kind of got a lot of nothing.
Really? Now, see, I'm going to beg to differ with you here because I felt that we got a lot of different moving pieces, but I did feel like you, whereas I was hoping to get a little bit more into Cold Harbor. So let's see what the guys have to say here.
So yeah, I kind of agree with Shadon and with you, Rasha, in the sense that like, and here's my issue with the season as a whole. I do love that it's been taking time to do some experimental episodes. I'm not complaining about that. But the problem is when you dedicate an entire episode that you don't need to Miss Cobell, then a lot of the subplots have to be rushed in this episode. So I'm putting on my critic hat here. We a lot goes on in this episode without a whole lot being talked about, answered, or emotionally driven. We see Irv leaving, we see Dylan quit. all these things are happening and they should have a greater impact on us, but they don't because we're rushing through 5 different people's storylines in a
Yeah.
single episode. And then we had one single storyline on Miss Cobell, which went nowhere until the very last 10 minutes. If they had taken half of what was here in this episode and stuck it in the last episode and mixed it up, then I think that we might have had a little bit more of an emotional connection here. And that's the frustrating thing. Plus, we didn't even get a whole lot of answers. They build it up to a cliffhanger, and now I'm worried that episode 10 is just going to be all information dump. And
Oh,
that's it.
for
Just
sure. So are you
exposition
saying
heavy
episode 8 was kind of a waste then?
I do. And I think that episode 9 suffered because of it. So
Well,
yeah.
Mike, one thing too is when you spend significant amount of time away from these characters, it is also harder to come back to them and care. I mean, I kind of forgot about Bert and Irv a little bit, and I was like,
Me
oh,
too.
and Dylan and his wife, like I was invested in them earlier in the season, and then I was just kind of like, man, both hit the Innie and the Outie sucks. Like I felt bad for her. I was like, both of these versions of these guys are terrible, and like I guess I was supposed to care that Dylan got rejected, and I mean I do, but not to the level of, as you're saying, much more eloquently than I am. But like we should be caring more.
Wow.
Rob, what about you? What'd you
Rob,
think?
where are you at with
There's
all this?
so much to chew on. So I'm going to be a little bit counter argumentative, if that's even a word, at this hour of the day. I liked the episode a lot, actually, and in fact, I thought Sweet Vitriol was good, because yeah, I had some issues with the pacing, but that episode was a nice reprieve from the bullet train speed within which we were getting so much information. And it was nice to see how Lumen affects a town and how they chew them up and spit them out and all that stuff. And this episode, I feel like was like the second part of that. It felt like it had a similar vibe. You remember the episode opens with Helena, not Helena, Helena, swimming. My 16-year-old daughter, Juliet, was sitting next to me and she's like, oh, isn't that interesting? She was drowning in episode 4 and now she's swimming. And I thought, okay, that's pretty good for a teenager. But anyway.
That's Rob's daughter right there. Okay.
I'm giving her props. I have to give her props. And then, so Helena walks into her father's really beautiful office, and there's this weird plate with this picture, and then the egg is very meticulously cut in 6 pieces, I think, and then she eats it very meticulously, and it's very, very, very micro. Then the episode does this, and it expands into the very, very huge macro level when it goes completely out of the Lumen compound to the Keir Township, I think, is in the distance, and the woods. And then you go right up to the end where you see the Lumen water tower or whatever that is. And I thought, okay, they're telling us that we're now going to look at this show from a more macro level. And on that note, let's have a look and see what all the Audis are getting up to in their outside world. So I thought that was all fantastic. However, I agree with what you're all saying is we maybe didn't get the emotional payoff that we were hoping for, although I think there were some moments that we'll talk about soon that I was really into. And of course, we are just so hungry for answers. We just want answers, 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 answers all the time. And all I can say to that is I agree, but maybe we just have to be patient.
Well, I hope that patience doesn't involve another 3 years before season 3 comes out. Okay. So let's be real about that. As you were mentioning, it was so interesting to see that we see the show open up with her swimming and you see the father-daughter. And then isn't it interesting at the end how we see it close out with them again? Yeah. Where she now doesn't recognize. She's like, what the hell? I thought that was indicative of something as well, too. So a lot of different storylines I thought were brewing in this one. Obviously, we're going to find out more about Mark S. and Cobell and where that's going to lead to. Do you think this is Irving's last season? John Turturro's last season? He'll be back.
He'll definitely be back.
I don't think the show can go on without him.
You can't get rid of him. And there was actually a fair amount of in the sense it's a question answered with another question, but we've been wondering what exactly it is Irv has been doing as far as investigating Lumen is concerned. The scene with Burt in his house, kind of looking at the questions that he's been writing down and everything. We don't have answers as to what Irv's background, his Audie's background, anyways, has been, how he got this assignment to look into Lumen and investigate it. We need those answers, and I don't think that we're going to get answers for that in the next episode. So this has to be he's got to be a main character going forward, just so that we can get resolution there.
It feels like there's different reasons why Bert's getting rid of him, though, or asking him to leave.
Mm.
I didn't feel like it. I felt like there were multiple reasons there, which could be maybe a part of the Outie knows about his investigative side. I don't know. Because now we're definitely seeing that, and then the intensity of love between them, you really do feel that. But then you're kind of questioning as to why Bert's really pushing that away. And of course, we know what the Outie situation is because he's with someone. But I don't know, that entire dynamic was very interesting for me to watch, and how just Irving is craving this love so bad that he's willing to do anything.
The I'm ready just gutted me. I mean,
Right?
any scenes or whatever, like, my God, I just thought that was so beautifully done and calibrated so well. Just stunning.
Yeah.
It was shot very beautifully too, right? From that moment to the train and the exterior of the train. Like it was actually, it seemed the cinematography was very film-like for me.
Yeah, it was very film noir. It had a real beautiful vibe to it. I felt like it had a throwback vibe to like the 1960s. I noticed people in the train station were wearing top hats, and it just felt like, I don't think those things are accidental. I think they're everything they do, every frame is intentional. And you're so right, Rasha. I feel like, and Shadan, in this instance, I feel like there is a connection there, but I don't really trust Bert, and I feel that he was manipulating Irv. This is all a manipulation. They need to get rid of him, get him out of Kier so that he stops investigating them, perhaps. And maybe also he's a distraction to Bert, and Bert has work to do. That's how I read it.
Do you guys think that Fields has anything to do with this as well?
Mate, yeah, where's Fields? I was thinking about that. Where is he? He's at home.
He's at home,
Yes.
sipping on some wine.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. And I guess I don't even know if we'll see that in episode 10. I think what's also going to be important to the developing of the story is Milch. Like, look, this entire time we've seen this dedicated employee, whether he's felt, welcomed, whether he's felt celebrated, he felt demoted at a moment. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many different emotions, but it felt so nice to see him kind of stepping into his power and saying, enough is enough. I'm not going to take this from you anymore. And it's so in contrary to the way he's also showing up, right? Like even with Miss Wong, when the poor little things got questions or they're smashing her little toy. That broke my heart too. I'm like, she's a kid. And you see that character and that dynamic play out, but then for him to just shift and stand up for like who he is and what he's been doing at this company and just being devalued, I thought that was very powerful. And then again, sets precedent in the tone of, are we going to see then now Milchek joining Harmony Cobell? And are we going to see some type of a revolution happening within this company? I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, I think there's so many different ways it could go, but for me, that was really powerful to see him and even Dylan saying, I'm done. I don't know what's going to happen with that story, but with Dylan just saying, I'm done. I'm out of here.
Yeah. When that interaction between Drummond and Milchick was very interesting because it was absolutely a very good way. And if you watch it again, you watch the framing of it, and the shots that director and cinematographer chose. Drummond has all the power, but that shifts very quickly when Milchick reminds him, no, hang on a second. I'm the one looking after the severed floor. You need to chill the F out, back off, and let me do my thing. And it was such a great moment for Milchick. If any fan of that character, I mean, what an arc that he's been on. And I feel like you're right. By next episode, maybe Milchick will start to actually put his foot down and do something because why would they be setting that up otherwise? It's a very good point.
I love that scene, honestly. I think that that's wish fulfillment for anyone who's ever wanted to like stick it to their boss, you know.
The
Um,
man.
Milchick has, first off, they've been trying to pin this crap on him this entire season, and him going like, it's not my on me, it's on you. I love that. It also is kind of interesting because it parallels and it closely follows when Mark tells him off, Mark saying like it's just work, I'm taking a day for myself, not even lying about having to be sick and anything like that. It's almost as if Mark is kind of inspiring Milchick as well to lead his own little revolution because people have just had it up to here with Lumen, and between Dylan, between Mark, between Milchick, I love that that was kind of a unifying theme here was sticking it to the man, in this episode. And, I'm very proud of Milchick. I think he's definitely the character that I've connected with the most this season that I didn't think I would. And this scene is just every reason why he deserves an Emmy nomination. He's just been phenomenal this
Oh,
season.
yeah. No, he's been great. Shadon, do you have anything to add to that? There was another scene I wanted to jump to.
Well, I just wanted to say we saw a lot of characters, as you guys mentioned, sort of fight back a little bit. I even think of Miss Huang. She said I should have facilitated harder. Like that moment sort of broke my heart. Again, we mentioned like Dylan, his wife, like a lot of these moments of like maybe come to Jesus moments, if you will, of like a precipice of something new. And then obviously like it ends at the birthing center, which is really interesting. We can get to that next. But I just think it's interesting that sort of all of these characters are having something is coming to a head. What does that look like? I guess we'll find out next week. But there was a lot of subtle moments like that.
Were you reading my mind? Because I did want to go to the birthing center one next, but I do want the answer of who Miss Wong is by episode 10, because I think it would just be a lost cause to be waiting until season 3 unless there's a way that they interweave that. Because you see this poor child standing out there, and I'm just wondering, who are you? Who do you belong to? Or are you just, I know you're going to be shuffled to another place now, but like, who are you, child?
But real quick, because one of the big theories online is that it's like Mark and Gemma's
Yeah.
daughter. Believe that, right? It has to be something else. That's too easy of an answer.
No, 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 no. Yeah, I think that's too easy too. There, maybe she's created from them. I don't know, but no, I don't think she's their child. I think there's more to that. Let's go to the birthing center. Interesting that we returned there. I really was not expecting that when they pulled up through in the truck, and that caught me by surprise for a second. And I thought, oh wow. So we definitely. I mean, I think we knew when we originally saw the birthing center in season 1 that we knew something was happening there. But I think to return to it, I'm very curious. And I gotta say, there was a very witchy essence to that one scene where you see Harmony standing there, Miss Cobell, and
Oh,
or Mrs. Selvig, I should say, and right, and the fireplaces in the back. Like, oh, that scene
oh
was
my
so
God.
magical to me.
What a shot. There were so many instances during this episode where I was like pausing it and like, wow, look at that shot. Like telling my family, like that you just mentioned. And there's another scene where the train's going at full speed and then it transitions to the dark tunnel going towards the lift that goes to the testing floor. I was like, and so like any film nerd like all of us is just completely eating this stuff up.
Oh
I
yeah.
love that. I love that part of this show. It's such a work of art. But yeah, the birthing center, I was just like, what are we doing here? Obviously, it's a really good way to get Mark S back. So sever him again so we can find out more. But I still don't really understand what they're doing. Like why do they need Mark S to re-emerge? What does anyone have any ideas?
I don't know. It's like he has some type of he holds the key to something for them. So I don't know if he's like an ideal specimen, for testing. And again, is it the background? Because him and his wife obviously are very pivotal to this company, right? Um, I don't know. Has a deal been made with Rickens? And because it's family and that's why they're brought in. But I'd love to know if any of you have theories too on like what's happening at this center with him.
Well, the most fascinating part of the birthing center to me was when Cobell's coming in and she has Devon in the car and the whatever person like won't let her in, and then she says what does he say? She says she's one of Peter's or something. She's who? She
Yeah, I
mentioned
don't. She said a name, but it almost seemed to be a reference.
her name, but the idea is that like these women are coming into this birthing center in the cloak of night all the time, or like men are sort of sending their unwanted sort of pregnancies there, perhaps. Like I thought that has
Yeah.
ramifications for like what Lumen is doing, and like kind of goes back to this thing we've seen over and over again of like the hypocrisy of people in power and like how people at Lumen are using this technology to benefit themselves above all else. Like I thought that was a fascinating nugget there.
I think it's interesting as well that I'm going to call her the gatekeeper because I didn't catch a name, but the gatekeeper was like, yeah, oh, special projects. Okay, got it. That's why it's secret, you know? And it's like, what exactly is, the distinction between a special project and then everybody else who's coming into this facility, you know? So I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't know, fun stuff. But
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think hopefully we'll get more into that as well. Anything else that you feel stood out in this episode that might unravel some of the things we've been talking about as far as what Cold Harbor may be, or what may happen now? As like, for example, I think it's interesting that Dylan's quitting. How does this impact now the
Yeah.
Innie and Outie world?
We should there's about two or three things I was going to raise with you. One of them is the Dylan Gretchen storyline and him deciding to leave. What a moral quandary this show has raised with this great example of a married couple where Gretchen basically has an affair with his Innie. It's still him though, but it's not him. And he doesn't like that and feels betrayed. And the Innie feels like he's being betrayed and crying and on his one knee asking her to marry him. And I just thought, like, how that is such a minefield to navigate. Anyone in a relationship could see from a mile away that that is a very, very difficult moral issue. But then I kind of broke out of that. Then I just enjoyed the actual scene itself because Merritt Weaver proved or demonstrated why she's so beloved as an actor and she's won 2 Emmys because her reaction to having to reject Innie Dillon with her tears and her looks, and she was looking up and down, and I was just trying to read her face, and I felt like that was telling. I feel like she looked so guilty, like she was hiding something, and I reminded myself that in the scene when she's in her kitchen, it's very clear that the director was making us notice she's a 911 responder. It was right there, and it was like, look at this, everybody. And I think Shadan has brought this up in the past, I think, where we've noticed that she is some kind of 911 responder, and maybe that has a link to Gemma's car accident. So I don't think that was accidental. That whole scene and Gretchen's guilt, I don't think is just because she feels bad for the Innie. She doesn't really care about the Innie. She knows he'll be fine because he's an Audi. I think she's like, I have it, just like Devon. Maybe we're being paranoid, but I feel like these ancillary characters that have links to our Innies are all somehow in on it. That's my view.
We mentioned sort of, the Gwendolyn Christie, or even sort of the first episode where we saw, Aaliyah Shellcat and all. I think they're coming back too. Just because we didn't get to see them during season 2 doesn't mean that they're necessarily done. Like, I think these names matter and they're coming back.
And they wouldn't be there just for one episode. I think while the movement may have been subtle of what we're seeing with them, I think definitely has a bigger impact. Mike, I feel like you've got something to say.
I think, it's kind of funny because, and I know that this is blasphemy for all the fans who are watching who are probably not Marvel fans, but it's kind of an MCU thing to cast a big name person for a 5-second cameo that's going to pay off in another season, another 3 years. And I'm kind of like, I wish I love Merritt Weaver. I think she did an amazing job this season. I know that there's one episode left. I wish they did more with her this season. I think that they gave us what they gave us is good. And Rob, you've got me thinking so much about the 911 responder badge
Yeah.
and the potential with Gemma's accident. I love that. I really hope that that's the case because that would be brilliant writing if it's the case. And they should pay you for that, Rob. But overall, like
Will message Dan Erickson. Wait, Mike, along that line, really quick, I want to add though, did you notice that interaction too, where Cobell, when they meet in the forest, she's like, Gemma's dead.
yeah,
And
if Cold Harbor's already completed, Gemma's already dead. And I'm like,
yes. And Mike's like, and Mark is like, Mark is like, no, she's not. So that whole dynamic to me also was very interesting too, of where where is Gemma really? And who is
Yeah.
the woman that we keep seeing? Though I do feel she's Gemma.
But she's right though. Like they need Gemma for Mark. I think Gemma's only alive to keep Mark going. So like when Mark is done, she's gonna be done. You know.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
you think they're gonna kill them both?
No, I just feel like Cold Harbor, she said if Cold Harbor's done, she's up, she dies. They're at 96%. That's why they were so desperate to get Mark S back into the office, just like any other office in corporate America. Where are you? Why aren't you back in the office? I need you to do your work. The same, it's a really great allegory. But yeah, once it gets to 100% and Gemma gets to go into the Cold Harbor room, and who knows what that's going to be. Will it be another miscarriage? Will it be death itself? Will it be losing someone else? Like, what are they trying to test that needs to be severed from our lives? Because I tell you what, if something comes along and says, "Hey, I've got this pill for you," and you do not have to remember going to the dentist, I'm taking it. Give it to you. Just give it to
Yeah.
me. I want. Like,
I'd be like, what are the side effects first?
yeah.
really quick question. Has anyone answered the idea that if you're severed, how many times can somebody be severed? Like, can they have how many different
Yeah.
personalities? Because the
Oh.
thing that I'm kind of wondering is if Gemma's been going through all these different rooms, are those all different severed personalities? And if Cold Heart, because I was thinking, yeah, it could be one of those physical things where Cold Harbor is their test about death. Everything else was their test about fear, pain, here's death. That could be it, and she could literally be dead, if Cold Harbor is completed. But the other thing that I was thinking about was if she has different personalities in each of these rooms, in the dentist office, in the airline, in the Christmas room, then if she goes to Cold Harbor, maybe that's the switching of a permanent personality, and her Outie persona as Gemma would be completely dead. They just erase that completely because that's a form of dying in this world too. So I kind of think that you can never take something that Harmony Cobell says, like she's already dead, at the physical face value of somebody actually dying in this, because death can mean now multiple things in the world of Severance. So yeah, I'm just spinning plates here.
I don't really have any proof, but I just have always felt like there's multiples. Because even like the lady that has like the innie that gives birth, like I feel like you would have an innie to do your housework for you or something. Like that has to be part of it, but maybe that's like a twist that comes later.
Could be. I do think they're multiple too. And I do feel when we watched her go through each of those rooms, she definitely was a different personality. It wasn't that same individual that was walking through those doors,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There was always a shift happening, and whether we see that through the face expression, but also through the wardrobe, the costumes, and all that stuff. What are we hoping to get out of episode 10? I still can't believe that the entire season is gone, and I feel like it really flew by. I mean, so many people have been waiting for this show, right? And it's here and it's almost done. And I don't think we have any answers yet on when season 3 will be out. I haven't really seen anything yet, unless either of you. So hopefully in the next week or two we'll know. I don't know, but yeah. What are we looking forward to next week?
Well, I have sort of a question that I want to raise, which I raised earlier. So, season 1 ended with the sort of Innie's waking up in the outer world. That was the big cliffhanger. I think we're obviously headed towards some big cliffhanger to keep people watching. Probably we're going to find out what Cold Harbor is, or some door is going to open to Cold Harbor, and then snap, the episode ends. But one thing that we've been talking about a lot, I mean, Rob, I feel like you're the king of this, is sort of everything's intentional. So, like, all of these little things where we're like, well, why did we waste time on blah, blah, blah? I have enough faith to think that it means something. Maybe we'll find out by the end of episode 10. Maybe we won't. But the other thing that I want to raise is just even something that I've noticed in us doing this little podcast. Like, when we get feedback, whether it's like the pronunciation of a name or whatever, like, we respond to it and we interact with the world and sort of the people that we know are watching and interacting with us. And I would be remiss to mention again how much Severance has exploded and become a cultural juggernaut. And so my question is, like, what does the success of Severance mean for the future of Severance? Because I could see a world where maybe an episode like episode 8 that is sort of self-contained doesn't do well, so then in the future we don't get episodes like that. And so I think that's just something that I'm really going to be watching for. I think if if they have like this incredible Emmy season and, Christopher Walken walks away with a guest Emmy, guess what? He's definitely coming back. Or if Merritt Weaver gets a third Emmy, she's definitely going to come back. Like, I think I'm going to be looking for how the world interacting with Severance is going to change the show. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's going to start and end the same way that it was always going to, but I don't think that's the case. I think that the success and the sort of the way that it's imprinted itself in our cultural sort of world is gonna change the future of the show.
That's very interesting. So I feel like the finale of season 1, we saw a real paradigm shift in the show because they had those few minutes where the Innie was outside and got to see what their Outie was up to. And that was a huge paradigm shift for the show because up until that point, we had only ever seen them separated, and we had really mostly focused on what was going on in macro data refinement on the 7th floor, with some stuff going on outside so we could see that these were real people that we cared about. So, and then of course the Gemma Miss Casey link was the big wow moment. So now we have gone like 100% more than what season 1 was in terms of the scope of the show, the answers, and I feel like episode 10 is going to give us another paradigm shift, but we don't know what that is because how can we? It'll be something big. It'll be like either a wow moment, what didn't see that coming, or it'll be some I guess giving us something to hang on to, like yes, all of our theories are really that we were kind of onto it, and this is what Cold Harbor actually looks like, and so that's what I'm expecting. It'll be a big one, and we'll be completely blown away. And then, but I also hope that it'll be another work of art, like maybe the Chico Bardo or the episode 4. I'm expecting it to be probably where they spent most of their budget. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing.
I really hope it's a long episode. I don't want this to be a 47-minute crammed episode that's 30 minutes exposition dump with Cobell telling everything about Cold Harbor to Adam Scott, and then just some other stuff kind of happens. I definitely want answers, but I also kind of think that with season 1, I love the finale because everything built to that moment. The group, the MDR team was just pushing back and plotting and moving forward with progress to get to that moment in the season finale. I can't really say that season 2 has been built the same way. I feel like things haven't necessarily been building up to anything. Things have been a little bit more abstract, and the one thing that they've really built towards is the mystery surrounding Gemma and the reintegration process. So I definitely think that that's due, and I think that that's probably going to be the focus on in terms of giving us answers to anything this season before they leave us off with another cliffhanger and make us wait 3 more years. But yeah, I think we're definitely going to get an answer to what Cold Harbor is. I think I'm hoping that we get an answer to what it is Lumen is after, especially with a resource like Cobell there to kind of explain everything to us. And I really just kind of want this to end with, okay, we've got all the answers. Next season is the action. We're going to take the fight to Lumen, kind of thing, with all of our forces aligned. We've got Cobell, we've got Milchek, we've got the foursome, everyone against Kier, kind of thing. That would be really rewarding for me, but we don't know. We'll see. This is the mystery box of all mystery boxes in terms of entertainment. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think season 2 very much felt like a transitional season to me. Of like we established in season 1, season 2 we kind of give you the transition, and then season 3 we end. It's probably not going to happen because I feel like I've been wrong about everything, but I just feel like season 2 is the bridge season, if you will.
I'm with you. I think season 2 is the bridge season too, as the bridge as well. All right. Well, I think we've had a fun discussion here today. A lot of different theories and nuggets and observations. And so I'd like to thank again all of our viewers and listeners and remind them to please do engage with us. Share your comments, any feedback you may have, and any theories. We've got one more episode left. So feel free to email us at processingseverance@gmail.com and let us know what you would like to see or hear more of. We've had such a fun time just engaging in this conversation and being a part of the Lumen team. And we're so happy and grateful that you all were here to join us. So once again, on behalf of Processing Severance, I'm Rasha G with my team, Shadon L.
I refuse to leave. I'm just going to be here every Wednesday from here on out.
She won't leave the Zoom. Mike M.
Thanks, guys, for joining us. Keep those letters coming. We love hearing from you.
And Rob L.
Everybody, I'm ready. I'm so ready for you to send us all your theories and keep watching because we have one more to go and it's going to blow our minds.
That's right. Let's do this. All right. Thank you once again for joining us on Processing Severance. Until next time, stay safe out there and keep thinking about severance. Bye, everyone.